are looking for new ideas. You're probably a smart person. You want to inspire the people who come to your congregation, and as they work in their difficult jobs, as they may not have had the opportunity to study like you have, or a background, or maybe the mental ability to really motivate and inspire people, and present, you know, intellectually inspiring concepts. I'm going to share these, and starting off with obviously this. What is this? This is, and a lot of this is going to be presenting the lesser of two evils, and because that is the harshness of reality. For example, some may have a bias towards masturbation, but this is a personal stroker device, and usually it has a plastic cover with it. But the way I'm recommending to use it is it creates a vacuum if you hold the end like that, right? And it's made of an ultra skin material, very realistic, especially if you add some olive oil and some water to it, and even like warm it up a little bit, and then you as you use it, you hold the end, and also you can kind of you can set it upon your privates, like just like flop it on there, and it gives the replication of oral sex. And so this allows men who have what I refer to as post-nut pre-nut mental cloudiness, but post-nut clarity. So, and then women have pre-nut mental clarity, but post-nut cloudiness. And so for men, you want to be orgasming daily. That helps you to satisfy the appetite so you can not be seduced by yourself or others, and essentially not follow those desires, which makes you actually want to follow women rather than you should be following your religion, your higher purpose, your life goals, and then invite a woman to follow along with you. So that's one big talking point to get out of the way. This discussion is going to include aspects about feminism and avoiding premarital intimacy that some people, it's not easy for them to look into, especially if their congregation is more liberal or left-leaning, or it's comprised of a lot of women who don't want to, they're just kind of looking for this relationship with Jesus or God, quote unquote, and not with a husband. In the Bible, there's this idea of the woman supposed to be following along her father, she clings to her father and mother until marriage, and then the father passes her along. To me, that's ideal, and that's applicable for most people, because most women are heterosexual women who want to be, play the feminine counterpart in a marriage. And then most men are masculine men who want to be a leader, and they want to be masculine. So some of this, may be difficult to hear, but if you're from the Christian background, you have this understanding that, we're supposed to work on ourselves, and whether or not whatever you believe, whether you think there's going to be a Jesus that's going to come around, or there be divine inspiration to like the Holy Spirit guidance, or however you describe it, in this day and age, well, until whatever happens, then we should at least try to make things better and try to live out the ideals of what an ideal Eden would be, which I would say is, a loving, stable family unit, no premarital intimacy. So let's just get into my notes. We'll work through it, and and I'm gonna thank you for being here. So, okay, so starting off with the first note I wrote on my quote unquote cover letter, which I'm going to type out. All this is being typed out. This is an informal preview of my letters to different religious places of, supposedly sacred places where there's supposed to be a searching for knowledge and a maintenance of religious principles and a dignified way of living. And so these exchanges I've had on Facebook, me personally, and what I've seen is that women don't take responsibility for their actions. And the point is that they're not designed to. Like, they're designed to care for kids and to follow along with something. And so the trouble is, if they're following something, then they're going to say, that's the thing that's responsible for me. Like, the husband's responsible for what happens. Just like the parents, if they're going to be feeding and housing the kids, then they're responsible for the actions of the children, because they're literally giving them life. And so actually this is specifically about feminism. I'm going to do this page since I'm here, and then the actual cover letter starts on the next page. Pardon the disorganization, but it's all here. All the information's here. It can be okay. So women, they secretly hate and resent each other because the daughters are, they're trying to get sexual attention from all men, both men, the mother's age and the daughter's age. Problem with that is, the young woman shouldn't be allowed to show off. I think it's, if in anything, it's married women who should be allowed to present themselves as beautiful, their beauty to the world, because that's a sign that they are married and they're not available. And then the single women, the daughters, should be their beauty shouldn't be emphasized, because then it's, and this is all about like celebrating women and being human. So, part of my concerns are about feminism. So everything to do with feminism, even stuff you wouldn't think is stuff like when women treat pets like their own children rather than having children or helping to raise other children, whether it's volunteering or working at a daycare or helping to raise their friends' children or their sisters' children, or I should say spiritual sisters, people they align with, maybe from the church that they go to. So we should use women for what they're naturally good at, and men for what they're naturally good at. Women like to do caring for children, and men like to provide. All right, next. So yes, some of this will be offensive, but I hope that doesn't cancel out some of the ideas that you could incorporate into your presentations to whoever is in your church or your mosque or temple. Okay, so moving on, we're going to start from here. So this first part of the sermon, sermon ideas is about avoiding premarital intimacy. And in the past, scriptures like the Old Testament and whatnot, they were, and also the Muslim texts, they were written a long time ago, where where I think it was less likely for people to engage in premarital intimacy because there was safeguards like no birth control and no condoms, and people were poor back then, so it would be a greater risk. And also, no, the government didn't provide for single women who were irresponsibly having children out of marriage. So it seems like what women will do is they'll not choose men carefully. And part of the problem, it's we want to, as men, we want to take responsibility for the problem. Part of it's basically because men haven't properly guarded their daughters, and they've like not worried about it. They've just focused on their own pleasure, and not starting up a functioning family unit. So we want to challenge people. Like, people will, if you're talking to the members of your church, then people are going to say things like, how do we challenge people or debate these topics? Well, simple questions like, is premarital intimacy good or loving or sustainable? It's, premarital intimacy is teasing yourself. And we know it's not sustainable or loving because you can't have consistent physical intimacy with your spouse, which, it's harder because if you're seeking PM, then you're going to, establish yourself in a connection with someone that you want to. Do you love them? It's like women giving their bodies to a man, and then men giving their money and security to a woman, but they're not committed to each other. It just shows that they're exchanging body for money. They're not exchanging life commitment for life commitment. Okay, so another point is this idea of the references to the flower in the Old Testament, King Solomon and whatnot. They're talking about woman's vulva, and I think hygiene was not as good back then, so people didn't like shave their pubic hair, so you couldn't visually see and be inspired by the vulva. And now it's easier to want to provide oral sex because now you can see it. Now the thing is when you make it about this, it's easier to be selective about a woman. Like would you want to, you'd want to have sex with lots of different women, but to actually have oral sex with a woman is much more specific, who you would want to do that with. And okay, so vulva is special because it doesn't have to do with comparing size and appearance of sexual features such as men's privates and women's breasts. And when you place an emphasis on the vulva, then you won't be worried about anything. And I think this is a secret gem that was intended to be discovered by people. And again, this is about avoiding premarital intimacy. and it's about treating women as sacred and celebrating their bodies, and not about men being feminine and hoping that women will be celebrating their bodies, although we should of course compliment each other as loving spouse, but so what you want to do is you want to ask people challenging questions like, do you want premarital intimacy and why? And then when you look at someone, you want to think about how they would look in 50 years. Would you want to push them around in a wheelchair? For that special person, the answer is going to be yes, absolutely. All right. So women, the thing is, women can think the same what men want. Okay. So here's an idea: daily emails to future spouse. That allows you to reinforce that relationship with them, and such things like wearing a purity ring. And you want to be conscious of gender. That's another point, because people know that a guy is trying to flirt with and seduce women. We all know that's what a guy is doing if he's having a conversation with a woman, and so we need to admit this to ourselves, and also admit that we have attraction to each other, and that's good to keep a separate spacing. Now, here's another point. Premarital intimacy is everything. It's also flirtatious remarks, unnecessary eye contact, things like kissing or sitting or eating with women. So all things that we can make an effort to avoid. Okay, and there's lots more about avoiding premarital intimacy on my other live videos and my website, shieldheart.org, if you want to learn more. But now let's get into part 2 of sermon ideas. So, but on a side note, I want to say something about this. I think that especially for men, as they are an adult, it's better to refer to like your father and uncle as brothers, as egalitarian, as equals. And even if you're a pastor or imam, like ultimately that's just a formal term to be responsible for who is part of a particular church or congregation that you are operating, and who responsibility for the building. But ultimately you want people to refer to you as your first name, just like fathers. It's a stronger relationship if you're not that expecting for the father or uncles or grandfather to give you your financial and emotional stability. Instead, you should be able to serve each other equally once you're adults. And when I say adults, I mean probably like 25 or 30 when you are. But even younger, like whatever the age, when somebody refers to a person as a hierarchical role of authority, it makes them act submissive. And you don't really, you want people to be confident and strong, and that's how they're going to be able to protect themselves in the world alone. And that's the big thing about feminism, is it's trying to do is it's trying to get people to be, it's trying to get women to be men and essentially be masculine and guard and look out for and protect themselves in the world. And what do women end up doing? Well, unfortunately, or I know they're trying their best, but they end up getting paid from being in the nursing world, which half the time is about taking care of people who are irresponsible with their health, like unhealthy people who refuse to exercise and diet properly, so they end up in the hospital. or it's about, and then that's the whole big pharma thing, and then it's about then it's about uh, then it's about, the women raising the kids, but unfortunately they're using it under the auspices of the governmental education plan instead of raising their own children. So the benefit of women being in the home and raising their own kids is it decentralizes that power from the government, which is really important to a stable society where not too much power is concentrated. And like if I was a woman and earning a living, I would want advice from either my father or constant advice and oversight from my husband as to how to save the money and look after it. Because what women will often do, and men do this too, but especially women, is they'll basically spend on whatever they want, not their family. They'll just spend on themselves, be it trips, be it fashion, be it restaurants, be it pets, rather than spending and saving for their husband and for their children. Because women aren't designed to think long term. They're more designed to be in the moment. And that works great if they have a patriarchal society and a father and husband helping guide them as to take care of the home and to take care of the children. But if they operate on their own, then they're just going to follow their own emotions, and they're just going to follow. And I'm not, of course men can do this too, but we're trying to look at the extremes and the reality of the kind of darker side of what happens if you just think that people can do whatever they want. Okay, so moving on. So, the idea of all this is, to me, it's like lower class for people to send their daughters to go away and be, like, what do you call it? Go to school, just college, or just be around other men. Here's the thing. We got to admit that it's not ideal for women to listen to even male pastors, because they're going to want to follow the male pastors, and there's people who, and it ends up where the women just kind of want to follow the leader, quote unquote, when they should be following their husband or their father. So it's better that they stay in another room. And there are some churches and some mosques especially, who do this. And here's something we got to realize, guys, is we actually have more common core values, as if you're really serious about Christianity or Muslim or Orthodox Judaism. You value healthy separation of the genders, So So here's the thing. Women need to realize, if there's a man that they want, and if they want a masculine man, then they have to be a feminine woman. They can't be loud. They can't be intense. Okay. So just because women want to be intimate with someone doesn't mean that's good. That's another problem. Just because somebody wants to have sex with someone, it doesn't mean that they should. And that's kind of what feminism is trying to encourage, that women have, they call it sex positivity. sex positive, where women basically give their body before the man gives his life commitment. And again, I'm going back to this idea. What's the ideal situation here? Like, is it ideal for men to for men to be uh, husbands and women to be stay-at-home wives? I'd say yes. So let's people want to say, oh, it's not possible. Well, at least we can at least agree on what's ideal, right? Okay, moving forward. So okay, well, women need to have viable male guardians, and maybe this could be a pastor, just or an uncle or a grandfather, or just some male that basically doesn't want them for sex, but rather wants to help them get a husband. That's a good male guardian. And then, as men, we need to respect other men's women and see this is part of it. Does feminism encourage that, for men to treat other women like they're the most valuable object, like more valuable than a man or woman? Excuse me, more valuable than a man or a car or anything? When men really treated women like they were the most valuable thing in the whole world, then life was better. And I do want to mention something. I think that the reason some men objectify women or is because they feel their mothers are objectifying them, like treating them like their mothers are their property. But if you look in the Bible, it says something to the effect of that a young son is wiser or more capable than his mother. So it's the reality is if you watch the YouTuber Pearl Davis, I think she summarizes it well. She explains that, and even if you look into history, like there was the suffragettes who were trying to get votes, but then there were more anti-suffragettes that did not want to vote. So you got to watch out, because these people who are extreme feminists, what they do is they make it seem like it seems like there's a lot of them because they're a loud voice, but there really aren't. And the dark reality is these feminists are often women who no man wants to marry or have kids with, and maybe because they're less attractive, or it may very well be because they're too masculine and they don't want to be a wife. They don't want to follow a man. And part of it is there men worth following? And so that's, as society, we need to work on that too. So another point is that the LGBT, my hope is that they will prove us wrong, and that they will be able to pursue loving monogamous relationship, marriage. And even if you guys disagree, then at least that's the lesser of evil. Is it worse that they're promiscuous and LGBT, or that they're marriage oriented and LGBT? You see the lesser of evils, because then at least they're trying to be about the family unit. And if we treated them with love and respect, then they may not be as predatory towards, I don't want to say children as well, but whomever. Like from what I understand, there's a lot of older gay men who prey upon younger men, for example. Men prey upon people in general, younger women and younger men, but and we need to talk about this stuff. All right, so most people are hetero, and most people will have kids, and so that should be what it's about in society. And then maybe these people can play a supplemental role, LGBT, by trying to, just find ways to. And part of the problem is it's just something we need to deal with. It is the reality that these people, it's disruptive of the collective sisterhood uber alles and the brotherhood uber alles, because it makes us not, when you're around, when a hetero man is around a woman, he even if she's his spiritual sister, there's still that element of, well, he finds her physically attractive. And so the same complication, let's call it a limitation. I don't want to call it a disease, or I want to call it a limitation where that person won't be able to, they won't be able to, excuse me, they won't be able to, it's harder to focus. So in the interest of making a world that's more trustworthy, LGBT, they're going to have to identify themselves, maybe with a wristband, just something, acknowledge, and then, okay, but maybe that doesn't pertain to you and your church. They might not be receptive. You may disagree, but like I said, what's the lesser of two evils? We gotta deal with reality in some way. Okay, so women give away. Oh yeah, so that's just another emphasis on, if women earn a living, then they should talk to their fathers and husbands about how to deal with the money, and not that they won't, do the right thing with it, but it's just they need to like the idea of being under a man's influence and authority, because if she wants to be a woman, if she actually wants to be a woman. Okay, so again, it's easy to transcend uncertainty about body image, like breast or penis size or height or weight, because none of these are as important as skin health, heart health, and hygiene, and a woman's vulva. Like that's kind of the secret idea. Like if you asked men what's the most attractive feature about a woman, it would be vulva, right? So what's the ideal role that a woman wants a man to play in her life? Now, what about, does a woman want to prefer to be at home with the bills paid by a father or a male guardian or her husband? This may mean not going on vacations. This may mean not having the, newest car or designer clothing, but I'd say it's worth giving up. And health is kind of an everyday week to week thing. Like really being healthy, going to the gym and sauna, and eating right, and general hygiene and everything. It actually takes up a lot of time, and you got to do it yourself, and it's essentially free to do. So that takes up a lot of the time. People like to fill up all that time with partying, alcohol, and escapism, like vacations. And I'm not downing going on trips and trying to have fun in life, but I am saying that the main aspect of life should be about being a human being, and celebrating our bodies and taking care of them. Okay, so So, would you prefer to take your husband's last name if you really liked and respected him enough? So the dark side of feminism is that because they don't have a man who wants to marry them to have children, they encourage other women to have abortions, and it's not a win-win. Like it's a secret biological strategy of if they can't reproduce, then they're gonna help kill the offspring of other women. And I think this is not a conscious thing. Obviously, I don't think most people are have this dark tendency to do. Most women or whoever's feminist, but okay, we got to be conscious. So, issue with women: do most have brains biologically designed to, to act feminine and to support, babies. They're not designed to want to figure things out and, you know, talk about logic and truth. Okay. Moving on. So basically women, their brains are designed to, take care of babies, and men are, here's something I want to say is to be careful. Women, like the crazy cat ladies, there's a chemical in the feces of cats that makes, they did this experiment where it makes rats want to be near the cats, and so I think the same happens to humans. So watch out for this whole pet thing. Uh, m- m- uh, so some, talking about the dangers of birth control, do research on that, about how birth control actually changes the women's hormones and makes them think like men and makes them want a submissive man. Mm. Okay, so here's another thought. It's about child rearing or child uh, procreation. So the thing is women, they need to, you want to be with a woman who's fertile. That's possible, Roundhouse. It's, you look that up, dude. All right. So, but it also he had some bad experiences in growing up, and cats were his only solace. So that's a complicated subject. But the reality is, we shouldn't use. We should be conscious of the suffering we had in the past, but often the reason that people hold on to suffering is because they use terms like "my father did this" or "my mother did this." Uh, Roundhouse, come on, come on. Uh, and if he is, then that's okay. But he should be honest with it and honest with himself. And in terms of this idea of, is somebody LGBT? Well, they did studies on animals in the wild. Some of them actually do have these characteristics, and of LGBT, and it could be environmental, it could be, but it could also be genetic. Like, let's say the DNA or the genetic biochemistry detects that there's too many women around, or there's not a need to reproduce, then maybe it would result in a gay. God. Oh man, come on, Round. We're pushing serious, dude. We're talking serious here. I'm trying to do a synopsis of some sermon ideas for pastors and imams and rabbis. So here's something: having children immediately. Okay. Okay, so that's one major thing that people make the mistake of, and this is returning to the whole premarital intimacy idea, avoiding it. But you want to not waste somebody's time. I'll write that down. Not, okay, waste. Look at that. Her challenge. Thank you, Round. Thanks for your presence. Time. So if you approach a woman and you're not ready for marriage and to have children, then you're affecting her ability to, you could be wasting a month of her time when she could have found, somebody viable. Okay, so we don't want to do that. We want to. Oh, cool, the light work. So we want to, we want to have kids, pretty promptly. Like, and I think having them. I know they say the kids get envious of each other, but if the kids are being taught to help in child rearing, Round. Oh man. If they're taught to help with the child rearing, then and then when you're ready to stop having kids, then you could maybe have something happen. I don't know if there are some risk factors to getting vasectomies or hysterectomies, but whatever is the minimum risk factor, and then you can stop having children. The point is, when you're ready to get married as a man, then start having children, and then when you're ready to stop, then stop. But no, because this birth control, it damages women's hormones and everything, and this whole idea of condoms, like, it doesn't feel, it's a tease. It's a sexual tease. All right, let's keep going. We got more to go. How many do we have? We have actually, that is actually, yeah, okay, so I think we got 2 more pages, and then, yeah, 2 more pages, and then we've covered everything. Oh, Roundhouse, come on. All right, so basically, guys, it's about avoiding premarital intimacy, analyzing feminism, and, I want to provide when you encourage patriarchy, it ends up about protecting women, and it's basically more important that the man follows his principles and his life path than following the woman, right? Actually, I already covered this earlier, but this is what I have to say. And another final point, in the chat, I have one of my somebody who watches me talk, and he's commenting about light work. And the reality is I do this visualization, and some people say prayer works. Well, I think prayer works when you are trying to attract something. So if you're searching, how do I say this? If you're prayer works in images. So when you say, dear God, I want to have a new car, then when you think of the images of it, then it attracts it. But you should also want to work as hard in order to rightfully earn, whatever experiences or possessions you want in your life. But as a final, again, Roundhouse, you see this? This is a stroker from Doc Johnson. It's made of ultra skin, and if you squeeze the end of it, it creates a vacuum. and it's meant to be used with a plastic device, but you can use it without it, and then you can also like use it like as it's like oral sex. Like you can kind of like toggle it around your privates, and use olive oil and water, and there you go. And so, like what I like to do as a form of prayer is I like to imagine people smiling in my head that I'm maybe upset at, and just because I want the imagery in my head to be, yeah, it's not Fleshlight, it's actually Doc Johnson, which I think makes a better product. But there you have it, guys. I've shared a lot there. I know it was really informal and spontaneous and maybe a little jumpy, but I think I've gotten enough ideas out there to present a sermon on either avoiding premarital intimacy, and because the reality is people who seduce each other for their body or money, they don't care about each other. That's going to be my final point. Ah, Roundhouse. Oh, dude, that's it. I'm getting screenshots of everything, and I'm gonna be reporting this to the FCC. Yeah. But thank you guys, and remember, it's about the lesser of two evils. Let me write that down. Lesser. Here, let's write that down. Lesser. In fact, I'm gonna write it in my cover letter about the lesser. Ole Roundhouse. About the lesser of two evils. For the heck of it, let's do a little visualization here. So imagine a problem you're having at work, or maybe someone owes you money, or you want to get a raise. Imagine the person in question, imagine them smiling joyfully, and just do a little prayer for them, wishing them to have the good energy and in their come into their life. And actually you can get them on the internet for like $50, Roundhouse. Just keyword search that, Doc Johnson. It's called the main squeeze. So you basically you want to imagine them smiling, and just all of what you want in your head is what you want to protect your head with, and what you want to have in your head is what you want. So when you're thinking about it, it's like a spell. Oh, Roundhouse. Ole. All right. You're thinking about whatever you're thinking about is casting itself into your future. So you want to pray for good things. You want to pray for abundance, and that you can share that abundance and opportunities. Ole! That's it. Roundhouse. That's it. Pissed. All right, and now let's use a number 2. Let's do like a target of demons who would likely be like presidents or whatnot. Let's do a prayer for them. Imagine them smiling. Let's imagine like Trump smiling. Ole! Roundhouse, go pace yourself. You're gonna piss yourself. Ooh. Oh, talk about derailing over here. Roundhouse is just doming this show, man. He's on point. He's abusing his moderator privileges. So, okay, so second person is somebody who you are attracted to. No. Yeah. Well, I'm also my own number 1 fan. You're like my number two viewer. I don't know. Like, what's the thing that you really want? Yeah, I think you're right, dude. What's one thing that you really like? What's my favorite talking point that you think I should think about more and do more research on, I should say. So point number two, we visualize like Trump, happy, smiling, brilliant stream of white light coming down and just illuminating his space, and he's laughing. Same with Kim Jong Un, the Korean guy. You know, we imagine him super joyful, and just imagine that brilliant white light streaming down on him, and it bounces off buildings, and even like the Biden and his White House. Just imagine that light flooding there. He's ah! Good one, Roundhouse. Yeah, I put a lot of ideas out there, but my hope is that this specific, like, I'm gonna type this all up and then send this in, but this is just a preview to make sure that it's available online to anyone watching it. But yeah, and let's end with a prayer for and before anyone wants to get on my case, a lot of the religious stuff is not black and white. Like, it doesn't say how to avoid premarital intimacy specifically. It gives hints, but it doesn't say yeah. Oh, dude, take another screenshot of that as evidence. That way we can use it later against you, dude. Oh, man. So, last person is, whether whoever's watching, you too, Roundhouse, if you're have somebody who you are either intimate with and not married to, or married to, or you want to marry someone, as men, we need to recognize that we need to follow ourselves and follow our life goals and principles and religion and our morals, and then a lifestyle that we want, like the foods we want, and then invite a woman into that life to follow along. Like, that's what's going to make us feel like a man, and that's going to make that's what's going to make her feel like a woman. And nobody wants to admit this. Well, the thing about marriage is it's about, I'm talking about like a life commitment, not a legal marriage. I get that, but people should wear rings. The woman should take the man's last name because it's indicative of her desire to follow her and if she doesn't want to follow him, she should find somebody else. Oh, really? Oh my God, Roundhouse. All right, so putting all this aside, just imagine somebody who you think would, in real life, who you think would potentially, somebody who might be interested in you and you interested in them as a spouse. And so I just imagine them for a second, smiling, imagine them laughing, and then imagine brilliant white light just streaming around them. And on a final note, oh shit, Roundhouse. And yes, you can do this with crystals or whatever. Yep. So here's the thing. The only time you can help society is when you help yourself first. So if you're a pastor, or if you're whatever you do, if you maybe have a social media following, oh, dude, nice, Roundhouse, good one, dude. I'm gonna screenshot that. That was another good one. Whoever you are, and maybe you're smart enough to inspire people and give them good advice. Ole! Roundhouse. then use that and keep working with that. I'm about to sign out. Unexpected surprise, Roundhouse, but this was good to have you jump into this little informational stream about a preview of what advice to give to pastors and imams from Muslim and Orthodox, because if we uh, and rabbis, because the reality is you guys are, if you want to have that title, you want to be responsible for people and their spiritual well-being, then you should encourage them to first of all have their own personal relationship with their higher power. Any boy, Bibble, any boy. If you want people to be responsible and powerful, then you should empower them to follow themselves. Essentially, your job as a rabbi is basically to be responsible for the building and the people that are coming in it. But ultimately, you should want them to refer to you on a first name basis, you, them, and, it just be like your job. Like they pay you to basically manage the property and manage that who gets to be in the church and not. And that it's all under, the reality is there's more commonality in a lot of these religions. Like the most important things, like avoiding premarital intimacy, respecting women, respecting men by talking to them about their daughters rather than talking directly to the daughters. If you're interested in marriage. And by the way, you should be able to know right away if someone's interested in marriage or not. World. Oh, dude. Oh, you remember my old website, easyworldpeace.com. Yeah, good times. Thank you, Roundhouse. Glad to have somebody who, kind of knows about my past, and hey, we're making a bright future. We're doing it together. Hope your weekend goes well, dude. And can I comment here? Yeah, I can. No, I can't. I can't comment. Ah, nice. Well, you can always email me if you need to reach out. Thank you. Thanks, Roundhouse. Or you can, I think my phone number, if you're on Facebook, friend me on Facebook. But yeah, feel free to reach out. You can find my email on my website, shieldher.org. All right, I'm going to take off, but big aloha from Hawaii. I hope you're, yeah, mahalo. Good one. I hope you're well wherever you are, and till the next stream, right? We'll keep it pushing, dude. Trust me, this stuff's going to explode. Like, this is what the world wants. It wants something more. It wants the next thing. We have lots of technology out there, but we need some ideology that will allow us to create a more trusting world. Okay, take care. Staying real. All right.